Lord set torrents and arrows on the French army. The army of King Louis and his Dauphin, the son of a noble Roman house, martyred for his Christian beliefs. Who was St. George? Is it? One of my colleagues, also named Eileen, as it happens, there's two Eileens in the group. We're a small group and we've managed to garner two Eileens into it. And she's picked up on the date. 23rd of April being not only St. George's Day, traditionally celebrated as Shakespeare's birthday and the anniversary of Shakespeare's death. So, we had St. George and William Shakespeare both share the same date. How convenient of William's mother to reproduce her budding playwright on the saint's elected day. The ratepayers of Stratford are forever in her debt. The streets can be adorned with lampposts cross gartered, an amalgamation of celebration, and not one bother boot in sight. No contentious parades, no uniform constabulary, with riot shields already. No extra expense of the burghers' purses. No equestrian, a hall to head, reference commentaries and see where that led. So this pasty youth in tin plate garb, astride his white horse, that with sword did bleed a paltry dragon from a cave, is chosen to represent England. Is he a cross we bear? Is land of hope and glory, our great conquering nation, reflected in this metallic youth? With his blood-stirring rhetoric, chronicling our history, full on, no holds barred, urging us onwards in battle, cry God for Harry, England, and St. George. These can all be read over there later on my little display, or I've got a few from our last anthology here as well. This is another St. George's one that came to us. Yet I don't always know the rhythm that the author intended because they're not all my poems. This one, I believe, is also by Eileen Boyd. It's a mother's tale. Will you hurry up and get dressed and don't leave all your mess on the floor? Eat your porridge up before you go out and don't lay back. Must you wear that ruddy helmet in the house? You do look a sight. Please don't tell anyone your mind. That poor palfrey of yours has been shut in for 2 days now. So take him with you. Go and get some exercise. Get some fresh air into you, instead of sitting here with 3 godabouts and imaginary dragons. Sitting with that ruddy keyboard half the night, wasting hours on those stupid guests. What is going to become of you? You need to think about your future, young man. Whatever are you going to achieve? Well, great are you? Really going out like that? Not that ruddy helmet still? Oh, why ridiculous gauntlets? And what on earth are you going to do for that steer, George? And haven't we mothers all said something similar? Particularly to sons. I'm sure every mother has.
Yeah.
Still, a little acrostic one my friend wrote, and it reads better than reads nicely as you read it on the board. Dreadful daunting dragon, ready for a fight, an alluring sweet maiden, grabbed at dead of night. Oh, what to do? Can no one say it? Gorgeous George on his horse is opens his eyes, rides to her side, ready for a fight, grasps his sword, end of. That was by Anne Harding, who is very famous in our group for doing the crossfit. But it's not all on certain themes. Now, with the recent problems with the volcano, the volcanic ash, this inspired me along the lines of the fallout. Nature's furnace in the Northern Isle, melting rock to flow seawards, smoke plumes billowing to the sea, to the sky, carrying ash high into clouds, caught by the northwest wind, flows over Europe's lands, quietening the roar of ships, before black rain falls gently, making the black country black again. And a couple of us seem to have taken the same idea and treated it again differently without even thinking of each other at the time. We were both inspired by that statue owned by the fish shop called Woman's Work, the one with the flat iron for a face. There's a picture of it over there as well. She must be very inspirational, that's all I can say. She's really got everybody interested. Carol Earl, who happens to be a Canadian import, she emigrated from Canada here and she found our little group, wrote about a woman's work. A girl trudged through the mud, a skirt dragged through the filth, laden with heavy buckets, brimming with black coal. Chains dragged her back down into the black abyss of an endless deep pit, boring into the bowels of the earth. Dirt, rocks, wooden timbers rain down, blotting out all escape. That sort of sums up how Carol sees women of the period that is set in and the mining. I see women's work as something a bit more frantic. So I call mine women's work. It's a little different angle. She's up before dawn and down to the mine, working all day and being paid pennies. Home after dusk, never seeing the sun, then her long day is barely begun. There's preparing a meal, her husband and kids, washing and ironing, no time to spare, no time for her, no time to catch breath. On top of all that, she's pregnant again. And said, so I say, I have got some copies of our golf anthologies that the groups have brought out, if anyone wants to browse them. I've also got a few examples of the St George poems and other stuff from the books actually up on the display. This little one that I'm going to finish with is about St George and the flag. And I think it's, I hope, when I wrote it, it was intended to sum up why we don't want the St George's flag hijacked by those who will not treat us right. St George the flag, red and white, a blood-red cross, a field of snowy white, fluttering above England's towns and cities.